Good morning, adventurers. So it is the 1st of December 2021 and it is patch day. This is the day that they are patching version 1.1.1 and it is currently in server maintenance right now. So this is a fantastic time to talk about the news and things that have happened in the last week. So we're going to look at the screw-ups that have been made, the fixes that have been implemented, and the upcoming changes that we've got to expect in this upcoming patch. So before I continue, I would like to invite you to hit that subscribe button. Subscribing means that you will stay up to date with all the latest news, tips, tricks, and guides for New World. Now, if you don't want to subscribe, that's totally cool. Just hit that like button instead, and then YouTube will send you my content when it thinks it's appropriate for you. So the most significant thing that's been going on is the continuation of a major screw-up. Following a previous issue, the New World team agreed that it was the best thing to do to provide compensation to players who had suffered significantly at an issue which caused time skipping on servers. So they agreed that they would give these players this compensation. But the problem is, whichever person that's responsible for this, when they processed this, they missed the decimal point out. And it just seems like the players that got compensated times 100 what they were expecting. So some players were logging in to find their inventories just bursting at the seams, quite literally. In some cases, some players had like literally max amount of coins in their inventory. So of course the result of this was people went on spending sprees. The problem is, the New World team didn't want the players to keep this money because it wasn't really right that they had that money. So it didn't take them long to react to this, but it was long enough for a lot of damage to have been done. The New World team took the servers offline and they looked at fixing the issue. So the only solution that they could see was to actually roll back the servers back to the 24th of November. Now this wasn't an easy job for them. A lot of data they could actually roll back quite easy. That wasn't a problem for them. The main problem was undoing all of the transactions that had taken place on the trading post. This took several days for them. Initially the servers were offline for a good chunk of time. We're not talking minutes here, we are talking days. And then when the servers came back online, the trading post wasn't enabled. So eventually, as the hours and the days went by, they worked on the trading post and finally got this back up and running. But it's been an absolute palaver. Right now, we should be in a state where everybody is back to where they should be, with the exception of the people who genuinely grafted during that period, got some genuine loot drops, and have basically lost that progress, which is really sad. And I don't know if it's even possible to put things right as it should be, but this is the hand that we've been dealt. Did you lose any significant progress due to this rollback? Or were you one of the players that received some of the coins? Let me know in the comments. Because what I'm really interested to know is if you were one of the players that received the coins, did you immediately know it was an issue, or did you genuinely think that that was the money that they were compensating you with? And then how did you react to that? Okay, so let's talk about the next unintended consequence of their actions. So this actually relates to the server transfer tokens. Now, I think that people that come up with these ideas are absolutely brilliant. It's some real outside the box thinking at times from people. And you know how they say that fraudsters and criminals are always one step ahead? That's true for gamers as well. I think the smartest people in this world are gamers because they always find a way of thinking outside the box and pushing things to the limits. So let me explain. When the New World team decided they were going to give us all server transfer tokens, they decided that it would be a good idea to give players who created fresh characters also these server transfer tokens, allowing newly created characters to switch servers. That's very generous of them. But what were the consequences of this? What did players use this for? I'll tell you. Players were creating new characters to become mules to move resources from server to server. There was no consequences. They just needed to make new characters and got a new token. Genius. I didn't think of that, but some smart person did. Hats off to them. They're taking the piss, but well done you. As a result of this, the New World team have disabled that feature. So now you'll no longer get a server transfer token with new characters. So I'm super interested as well. Were you one of these players that used this legitimate feature that they implemented into the game to mule resources from server to server? I would just love to understand the process that it took to get from one server to another server, given that you can't have more than one player in the same world set. So this must have constituted of collaboration of some degree on a bigger scale than just one person doing this. So can you just let me know in the comments if you did this and how you went about logistically doing this? Okay, let's talk about something a little bit more fun and exciting, which some people will be a little bit more interested in. Now, this wasn't included in any patch notes. This seems to be a little bit of a stealthy ninja patch where these changes have been made. So this information comes from the reports of players who've experienced this more than anything else. And this is in relation to the elite chests. It seems like the elite chests have been patched and are now giving normal drops. So it seems like the previous nerf to these elite chests that everybody loved so much has been undone and it's back to normal. So go fill your boots before they change their minds and put it back again. Okay, so let's take a look at the patch that we are expecting, which is currently being implemented, and why the servers are currently down at the time of recording this video. So what they're saying is this week's update is focused on resolving some of the issues that have arisen from the November update. The development team is continually working on improving the New World experience, and they thank you for all your patience and reports that you continue to make on the official forums. Now, I don't remember many people being patient. Don't know about you. Okay, so motes from elemental enemies. Some people have highlighted, and you may have also noticed, that there were a large amount of motes dropping from the elemental creatures. I do remember seeing a guide shortly after the patch went live, showing you how much money you could make from farming these elemental creatures. So the first point of this patch is fix an issue causing a large number of motes to drop from elemental creatures. Clearly this was an unintended behavior. And they also go on to elaborate, saying, we also removed elemental motes as a reward from gathering elemental creatures and reduced the amount of other resources acquired from them to account for the number of them in the world and the frequency at which they spawn. The original intention with these creatures was to make them challenging and infrequent encounters in the world. The way we use them in practice resulted in them becoming less dangerous and more frequent, which caused an imbalance with the amount of resources they provided compared to the primary sources such as the elemental plants and stones. So if you were taking advantage of these increased drops, then good on you, but sadly your revenue stream has now ended. So another issue that they are addressing in this patch has been a bit of a hot topic recently, and this is in relation to the horticulture gear. They inadvertently decided to delete all the horticulture gear out of the game. It was flagged as future content and thus removed. The way that the New World team are fixing this is they're going to give all the affected players new gear, but they're not giving them just the replaced items. They're going to receive a chest full of the full set of horticulture gear. And the way they're going to determine the stats on this is they're going to look at the highest level of gear that has ever been obtained by them, and they're going to set the tier to that and at the highest gear score that is possible for that tier. So that's a pretty cool little bit of compensation. So if you're one of those players who has suffered from this, then it looks like you're going to find a chest in your inventory after this patch, which you can then replace all your gear. Now, I am hoping that I had some horticulture gear just stashed away somewhere in a storage in some town that I've forgotten about, and I get a full set of gear, which would be pretty cool. I'm not optimistic, but there's always the hope. So are you one of the players that definitely knows that they have lost some of this horticulture gear, and are you excited for the changes? How much has it impacted you, and does this compensate you sufficiently for the problems? There's recently been an ongoing issue with duping, and this is in particular the furniture side of things. People were duping trophies and then flogging them for a steal on the trading post. In response to this, the New World team disabled the trading of those particular items. The way they worked it, I believe, was they marked these as quest items, which meant they were unsellable on the trading post. You couldn't salvage them, and this has been an infuriating temporary solution for some. But as of this patch, they're re-enabling trading, moving and salvaging of furnishing and housing items. Hurrah! They've managed to fix it. But it's been infuriating for the people who were focused on that particular profession, who weren't exploiting things. So moving on to crafting, some Jewelcrafting recipes were not granting enough trade skill XP, and that has been fixed in this patch. And I'm surprised by this next paragraph that they've put in there. It doesn't even highlight a change, but basically, they're having to reiterate the reason for the changes that they've made to the trade skill XP. And I think that they're highlighting this in these patch notes because people are just not grasping this concept. And that blows my mind to think that people don't understand this. So let's just read this out just for absolute clarity. Recently, we lowered the amount of trade skill XP provided by lower tier items when a player reaches a new tier of crafting bases per skill. To use metal as an example, when a player unlocks steel recipes, they earn less from crafting iron recipes. We did this to emphasize crafting higher tiered items as you progress through the trade skills and also improve the value of higher tiered materials. Our intention behind this change is to reward players for crafting higher tiered items as they progress through the ranks of each trade skill. Before this change, we found players were spending too much time crafting low tier items as opposed to pushing their crafting skill up crafting items that they may actually use at their current level. Now, to think that people were still crafting lower tiered items at this stage is absolutely bewildering. And finally, for these patch notes, there have been a few minor bug fixes, nothing significant, just a couple of issues where you were unable to fulfill buy orders from local storage sheds, fixed some weapon swapping issues with the Void Gauntlet, and fixed some stuff where players were not receiving specific achievements. So it's not been an overly exciting week for us, but there certainly has been some events that have happened which have caused a lot of emotion, shall we say. Anyway, what are your thoughts on everything that's happened in this last week? Is there anything that particularly sticks out for you? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.